Hello, 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 and welcome to another community call here with the Bindplane team. This time in May of 2025, and with me today, I have the lovely Dakota, our resident uh, OpenTelemetry collector guru. I want to say collector whisperer, all of the above, basically. Super happy to have Dakota with us today for the community call. And yeah, we have a bunch of cool features to show you, a bunch of cool things we've been working on for the last month or so. And yeah, let's jump into introductions. I'm Adnan. I do DevRel here at Bindplane, and over to Dakota.
Thanks, Adnan. Hey guys, what's up? I'm Dakota. Been a software engineer here with Bindplane for about 2 years. Yeah, really excited to show you guys what's new.
And spoilers, it's going to be related to the collector. So obviously, having Dakota on is quite a telltale sign about that. But yeah, let's jump into the agenda for today. As always, we have a quick 30 minutes to go through the updates for this month. We're going to talk about, as always, what is Bindplane. We'll talk about what's new in the last month, and we'll obviously do a few community shout outs because we have a ton of cool things happening at the end of May for you, and a bunch of collabs as well. So as always, let's just jump into the what is Bindplane and get that set, because we might have some new community members that aren't well aware about the inner workings of Bindplane and how it works and what it is. So let's get that out of the way at the beginning. Just to make sure we're all on the same page, Bindplane is an OpenTelemetry native telemetry pipeline. So that means that the core functionality is to give you a unified control plane. So what does that mean, unified control plane? It means that you can get everything you need to manage your collectors, but also monitor and manage all of the telemetry that goes through your telemetry pipeline. So across any source and any destination that you're currently using within your telemetry pipeline. Bindplane makes it super easy to collect, process, and export all of this telemetry because first, it's built on vendor-agnostic OpenTelemetry standards, but this also means that it's super easy to manage a fleet of thousands and thousands of collectors, meaning it's even easier to scale your telemetry infrastructure. And then this, of course, all boils down to cost, because if you're able to scale it efficiently and enables you to see what's happening with your telemetry, it makes it easier to create processors to reduce the amount of actual telemetry going through your telemetry pipeline. So giving you an architecture overview of how this looks. So this is obviously just a sample of Bindplane Cloud. The self-hosted variant is identical. So this is just drag and drop. You can basically use both for this example, but since we're going to be demoing with Bindplane Cloud, we're just using it like this. Explaining the components here, there are essentially three components. So first, you have the collectors in the middle, and they're gathering all of the telemetry, and they're managed by the control plane that's on the left side. And Bindplane here uses the BDOT collector, which is the Bindplane distro for OpenTelemetry collector. It's OpenTelemetry native distro. It's upstream OpenTelemetry collector, but we have a special twist on it where we have an install script that makes you or lets you install it with one script. Super simple and super convenient. And it also, what's cool is that it also supports retries and persistent queues, which is a must nowadays. But the kicker here is that you can also bring your own collector if you're building your own collector, and you can use our OpenTelemetry distribution builder or open source tool as well to build that. Because the only thing you really need here is op-amp support. So op-amp support, what does that really mean? Well, op-amp is the Open Agent Management Protocol, and that enables centralized config and fleet management over a WebSocket connection. And because it's a WebSocket connection, once it's established from the inside out, you don't really need to do anything else from your security perspective. So for your firewall, you only open up 443 or 3001 on the inside towards the outside. So much safer. And then regarding the control plane itself, no telemetry flows through Bindplane itself. It's just the config data. So Bindplane shows a snapshot of the telemetry. It doesn't store data. Everything stays within your collectors. Bindplane lets you push config changes. You can manage processors centrally. You can even export a config file from the UI. And this stateless design, it's really, really nice if you have strict compliance standards and data security like GDPR, for example. And with that rundown out of the way, we can jump into all of the new cool things we have in Bindplane for this month. From the get-go, we have super cool updates to the Bring Your Own Collector, which is now in preview, and Dakota is going to do a really cool demo on that. We also have a brand new pricing page, which is super detailed, outlining all of the features for basically everything you would need for both the free and the enterprise versions. You can see exactly which feature corresponds to which version, and then obviously you can jump in and get started right away. What we also think is super cool that we did here is that we have two new sources as well. So we have the Windows event tracing and we have CrowdStrike FDR. What's cool with those is that first and foremost, for the Windows event trace, Denton from our team did an amazing demo on this on our previous Google SecOps workshop we did at the end of April. So you can jump into our YouTube and check that out. And then, of course, for the CrowdStrike, if you're using CrowdStrike FDR, you can now obviously set that up via Bindplane as a source as well. Awesome. And we do have some new deployment guides as well for the BDOT collector, which is now available. Well, actually, you can set it up with high availability. And we have deployment guides with Docker for both the Bindplane server and the BDOT collector. And more about that in a minute. But first, I'm going to hand it over to Dakota to do a hands-on demo with the Bring Your Own Collector preview.
Thanks, Adnan. Yeah, so today our Bring Your Own Collector effort is in private preview, but I'm just going to show one of the coming features with Bring Your Own Collector. So here I've got our announcement blog for BYOC. And I just want to go over why we're doing BYOC and why we're allowing people to create their own collectors and bring them themselves. The primary benefit is you have complete control over what's inside of your OpenTelemetry collector. You're essentially using your own distribution of it. You don't have to rely on us, for example. You don't have to rely on other vendors. You don't have to use the default contrib or core collectors. You can just create your own and put in exactly what you want and exactly what you need. And connect it to Bindplane, and it'll just work. So part of making this work is Bindplane needs to know how your collector is built. It needs to know which components are in it. And the reason for that is so you can use the correct resources in Bindplane. So here, if you're creating a configuration in Bindplane, I'll just create some random name here. And right here, I've got this agent type selected, and I've got our BDOT version 1 agent type. And so all these different sources in here are built using an underlying OTel component. And with BYOC, your collector may or may not be built with it. And if it's not built with it and you try to create this configuration using one of these components and roll it out to your collector is going to fail to start up and overall just not a great experience. So we want to try and protect the user from running into this. So getting into the demo a little bit, here I am on our SaaS environment. I've got two collectors running right now. I've got one, which is our version 1 collector. I've got another, which is this custom OTel collector, just a quick collector that I made using the OCB. And I can show here just real briefly the manifest I used for the OpenTelemetry collector builder to build this. Really, all this is our version 1 collector, but with pretty much all of the receivers and exporters stripped out. So if we go back into Bindplane, I've got this configuration made already, and I've got the V1 agent running it, just sending some host metrics to GCP. Now, in the manifest I just showed for exporters here, we don't have the Google Cloud Platform exporter, just the Google Cloud Storage exporter. And so what happens here, if I add this agent to this config, right away I'm told that this agent is incompatible. I can click on this error and open it up, and I can see here why this config is incompatible with that agent. And I'm saying that it does not have the Google Cloud exporter component needed for that config. So that's how we can block a bad config from being rolled out to an agent that doesn't necessarily support the components needed for it. So now I'm going to create a config that is compatible with it. I'm just going to name this custom collector config, Linux platform. And here I'm going to select the custom OTel collector, which is the agent type for my custom collector. I'm going to hit next. And now when I open up add source, we can see that I've got a few sources that are available, but all those receivers that I've ripped out are needed for all these different sources in here. And we can see that they're all kind of grayed out and listed as incompatible. So if I want to see why, if I go down to the, where is it? That doesn't matter. But so if I just click into one of these, we can see that for this source, it's incompatible, and it's telling me why it's incompatible, and it's telling me which telemetry type it's incompatible for. Another one here, the S3 rehydration. For logs, metrics, and traces, all three of them need the S3 rehydration receiver, and they're all it's missing from my collector's manifest, and so this source is incompatible. So for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to use our telemetry generator just to send some basic logs. I'm going to say hello world. And same thing for destinations. Most of these, we've got a lot of destinations available. It's because most of these are built using the underlying OTLP exporter, which my collector was built with. But again, we can see a lot of these, they're not compatible. And again, calling out why exactly they're not compatible. So I'm going to go ahead and use I'm going to send a Google Cloud storage, and I've got this destination already made. It's a library destination. I'll go ahead and save. And now I can go ahead, add my agent, start the rollout. And once this rolls out, we're all good. Come over here into GC, Google Cloud Storage, refresh, you can see you've got some data flowing. So yeah.
Really cool, really cool. So the point here is that we essentially, our philosophy is you should generally be building your own collector. I don't think the point isn't that every vendor has their own collector. It's basically a full circle loop. We're back into the every vendor has their own agent from 2019. If we think back, essentially the point is that we want you to build your own collector with the minimum amount of modules that you essentially need, right? So it's not bloated, so it doesn't have any types of vulnerabilities that you aren't specifically using for your use case. So that's what we want to essentially enable with this bring your own collector feature. Yeah, that's really cool, Dakota, showing that if you're using something that's not supported in that specific collector, it's immediately going to throw out, oh, nope, you have this issue where you need to make sure to add in this module. So yeah, that's really cool. And on this, we open sourced the OpenTelemetry distribution builder
Yeah.
right around KubeCon in London a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, just making it even easier to build out your own collector.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so bring your own collector. It's in preview now. When we do fully release it, we're gonna be adding some more streamlined control, creating and managing these custom agent types, um, and also the ability to install one of your custom agent types from Bindplane, similar to how you can install our current BDOT version 1 and 2 collectors. So yeah, more to come on that front. But today just wanted to show off just part of bring your own collector for when it's fully launched.
That's really cool.
Um,
Really
yeah.
cool. Yeah, that's the biggest power here is the one line install script for BDOT. Like that's just so convenient when you're getting started, or it doesn't really matter what you're doing, even if you want to replace other things that you currently have in your infrastructure. That one line install and immediately getting the feedback from Bindplane that it is running and that you're getting data through. Yeah. So, do you have any? What do you think? How long we're gonna wait to get the fully fledged bring your own collector? I'm not. It's
uh,
not no pressure, right? There's
I'll say soon.
okay. Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah,
It's fair.
yeah, I'll say
Soon,
soon.
soon enough, right? Soon enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And yeah, that was a quick demo on the BYOC for looking at components and available components within a custom collector. And now we're going to stick on the collector topic, but we're going to switch around and look at the deployment process for a collector specifically in Docker Compose. So this was something that we had a couple of customers ask for specifically, primarily because we didn't really have a deployment section for Docker specifically. And yeah, we decided to jump in and get on that. And now we have both an install guide for Docker Compose for Bindplane server, so the control plane itself if you're running it self-hosted, but also a dedicated section for the BDOT collector for running within Docker Compose. And yeah, let's walk through this so you can see exactly how it works. Essentially, we're just going to follow this docs page and word for word go through it ourselves. Um, the main thing that you should keep in mind is that this is the Docker Compose YAML that we will be using. So there's no real magic or anything complex that you really need to edit. You just need to keep an eye out for the op-amp endpoint and the secret key. But if you're using the op-amp endpoint with Bindplane Cloud, this is that's the link you're going to be using. So it's not going to change. So yeah, how do we set this up? Well, I'm going to jump over to just my basic instance of Bindplane. I'm going to first start by clicking install an agent. So I'll just keep this as is. I'll also keep the config blank, and I'll go and get my agent install, really convenient install command. But the only thing we really need here is the WebSocket op-amp URL and this secret key, right? The specific key to connect this collector. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this YAML file. I'll just drop it in to my Docker Compose YAML here. So just paste that in, and I'll grab my WebSocket link or my URL, put it right here, and I'll grab my secret key as well. So this secret key right here, and I'll just pop that into my op-amp secret key right here. Cool. So looking at this Docker Compose file now, there are some things that you're going to see right away from the get-go. So first, we have this volume section And we have a bunch of YAML path configs right here. And as you can see, these are referencing storage config YAML, storage logging YAML, and config manager YAML. Right now, we have two files here in the storage directory that are empty. We're going to fill them, but here's how we're going to fill them. The actual config.yaml itself is only a placeholder. So what does that mean, placeholder? So this is just the initial config that the agent needs to be started or to be initialized and actually start running. This is not something you should be editing yourself. Bindplane will go in and remotely edit this file based on the config you configure for this agent within the Bindplane UI. So this is not something you need to really think about. The logging YAML, it's very, very similar. It's, we're just setting the output level, the output to standard out, and the level of that logging for the agent itself, or else for the OpenTelemetry collector itself. So I'm going to paste that in here, save this file, and go back to my Docker Compose YAML. So now you're thinking about the config. Okay, what is this now? For reference, it's not something you need to care about. So it's going to be auto-updated once we start a rollout from the Bindplane UI. So this is going to automatically show up in a second now. And let me show you how and what's going to happen. But before I run the Docker Compose up, I'll just point out this label, the op amp label right here. This is set to ephemeral equals to true, just because we want Bindplane to treat this agent as an ephemeral agent. So it's going to let it reconnect based on the name or the ID it's going to be dedicated for this particular agent. This is a really convenient little flag for op amp labels that we're using for any type of ephemeral agent running in Docker, etc. Cool. Let me jump back into the terminal and I'll just do a Docker compose up with the D flag. Cool. Let me go back into my Bindplane UI, go back to return to all agents, and there we go. I have another agent here that's popping up with the ephemeral true label, which is exactly what we wanted. And it says that it's connected. Awesome. So apparently I have an agent running and it's running in Docker Compose. So success there. But there's one thing you really need to remember here. You can see that the version for this particular collector is 1.76.3. We have the option to upgrade it, but that's not going to work because it's running in Docker. Any containerized sort of, it doesn't matter if it's Docker or Kubernetes, if you're running the agent in a containerized environment, you need to physically update it yourself. So that means that you have to go into your YAML right here. You want to say, I want to have this 1.76.4. I want to save it. I want to go back into my Docker Compose. I'm going to stop it and I'm going to restart it once again. And now, now we see that it's running version 1.76.4. So it's updated. So that's the only really downside. I'm going to call it the downside, but it's just more of a, that's more of a, is it a feature or a bug? It's probably a feature. Like that's just the way it works. So just so you know, this is the way that you update your containerized agents. And from here, how do you now connect or create a config? Well, the same way you would create any config for any of your agents so far that you've used in Bindplane. Let me actually go in and say, I want to go into my agent and I want to connect or apply an existing config. So just have this little telemetry generator, same dealio that Dakota was just now showing. It's just they're generating some logs and it's sending it out to basically dev-null, which is nothing. But for the purposes of this demo, what I really want to do is I just really want to show you what's happening here in the processors, well, in the pipeline. You can see logs coming in, logs coming through, and this is all working through a containerized collector within Docker Compose. So I think for all of our community members and all of you out there that are using Docker Compose, you're going to have a really nice time and a much better onboarding experience with using a collector with Docker. And yeah, I think I'm really happy with finally getting this out. I know we had a bunch of questions about this. And moving forward, yeah, I think some of our next feedback we got was probably to get an option for getting a drop down here, same as we have with Kubernetes, maybe getting a drop down option for Docker as well, which is something that I'm going to have to like really beg Dakota to think about. Maybe we could ideally get something. But yeah, let's see how much time we get within the next month, and hopefully we can get to that as well. Yeah, that's roughly that regarding the demo for the Docker Compose install. What we can do next, though, we can talk a bit about the community shoutouts. So here's an exciting part. We have a massive upcoming end of May with our friends from the Google Cloud security community. So what does that mean? Well, first, we were invited to the New York City security user group, and Craig from our team and myself, we're going to be guests at the, well, it's technically an in-person event, but since I'm across the world and not very close to New York, and Craig is super busy as Craig is, we're going to be phoning in with a remote session and talking about data pipeline management with Bindplane. We're super happy and thrilled that we got the invite from our friends over at the Google Cloud Security Community. It's going to be on May 28th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time in New York in person. So if you're in New York, if you're interested, do let us know. We would love to have you there. And yeah, you can register here. Just click the link here. You have the slide deck in the calendar event as well. But yeah, that doesn't really stop there. We also have a webinar coming up with the Google Cloud Security Community as well. This one is a fully live stream webinar. We're gonna have Denton from our team, the Denton superstar, SecOps superstar, as I like calling him. He's been running all of our SecOps webinars here at Bindplane, and yeah, the Google Cloud community really wanted to get him on to talk about SecOps as well. And it's an online session, so you can register for that and attend live, actually online. And it's going to be on the 29th of May, 10 a.m. Eastern as well. Yeah, we would love to have you there. Super excited about these two things. It's a big deal for us, such a small team, to get invites like this from a really established and a large community like the Google Cloud Security Community. So the whole team is super hyped, and yeah, we would love to have you there. And yeah, if we have any questions coming up, if we don't, we're at time anyway, so we're probably going to have to pack it up pretty quickly. But yeah, let me just leave it on the recap slide for you to get a takeaway of what we did for today. Yeah, Windows event tracing, CrowdStrike FDR. The bringing on collector is in preview, so you can still jump in to check that out. Today you saw how Dakota demoed the available components. We finally have Docker deployment guides for both Bindplane server and the collector. And of course, we have the high availability guidelines for the BDOT as well. And yeah, for the events, please do join us. We would love to see you there, and yeah, it's free to sign up or register, so go for that. Yeah, hopefully you haven't missed anything, but yeah, Dakota, I think that will be a wrap.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you for joining, and yeah, hopefully by next month when we get more info on the BYOC, we're gonna have you on once again.
Oh yeah, do a full demo that time.
Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, cool, man. Thank you so much, and yeah, thank you guys for joining, and yeah, see you next month.